The Great Pyramid at Giza and that plateau is a multifunctional platform or plateau. The Great Pyramid is a multifunctional stone computer, number one. It used to be a power generator, so it generated power as the water used to flow underneath it from the Nile. It's now meandered very, very far away. But back then it ran right up to the pyramid, and the empty tubes have actually been inside of underneath the pyramid are still there where the water used to flow. When you have running water underneath crystal magnetized granite, you create something called physiostatic electricity. Those ions rush up into the chamber and they will go into the Grand Gallery. The Grand Gallery used to have resonating rods. Now the rods have been removed, but the slots where they went up the Grand Gallery are still there till this very day. Then that energy would be pushed into the King's Chamber, which you've been in with me, right? We meditated in there. Inside the King's Chamber, now that area is like a fusion chamber, and the energy would shoot up through the top, through the apex, and now you have wireless energy. Nikola Tesla tapped into the same exact understanding of how that worked and duplicated it with the Wardenclyffe Tower. Now that wireless energy would transmit around the area, and the crystal granite obelisks would capture it. And then if you had something called a JED, a DJED, it looks almost like a Tesla coil with a cable coming out of it. You'll see it in Egyptian hieroglyphs. It's connected to light bulbs and other technologies, electric gold plating. You can then power it wirelessly from the ambient electricity that's been transmitted from miles away from the Great Pyramid. That's just one purpose. Another purpose, when you look at the way that the Great Pyramid is designed in the Queen's Chamber and then you have the King's Chamber, well, water was set to rush down and into the Queen's Chamber, and with the chemistry and also the metallics down there, you can see how there would be some form of electrolysis that would occur. And I'm not the only one that has this hypothesis. Engineer Christopher Dunn had the same exact hypothesis as me. I just found out about maybe a month ago when I finally talked to him on my podcast. So this electrolysis would extract hydrogen from the oxygen, the H2O, and then you have a hydrogen chamber. So now, what's interesting about that, the way it's connected to the shafts that lead up into space, when you look at the pyramid alignment with the stars on certain millennial alignments, you find out that it aligns with Orion, it aligns with Aldebaran, it aligns with Pleiades, it aligns all these star systems. And what is the frequency that we transmit information on right now from a standpoint of trying to connect with ET? We transmit on the hydrogen frequency because it's the most widely abundant frequency in the universe. So I believe in my hypothesis, I always say hypothesis versus what I read, is that these shafts would shoot the hydrogen beams out towards those stars on certain particular alignments with information, data encoded into the hydrogen. In other words, an update on this breakaway civilization. It was a communications device, long-range communications to other stars. And then it also is a star map. When you look down at Giza from above, you see the Great Pyramid, the other two pyramids, and you see the temples around, and you can actually connect those with lines and then make circles, concentric circles. You'll get the interplanetary map of our solar system. You'll get the sun in the middle, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and you'll even get Mars. And when you take the NASA map of our solar system and you overlay it, it matches down to the millimeter. That's crazy. It even matches to the astronomical unit, which is the distance from the Earth to the sun. That's a measurement unit to count distances in the vastness of space. So how can this be done? Somebody had super advanced foreknowledge. Then the Great Pyramid itself it's in the center of the Earth, not the center of the Earth in particular being the center like the navel, but it's in the center of landmass of the Earth. Now, in order to do that, you have to have a satellite, but not any kind of satellite. If we were going to duplicate that today, we would have to have a polar orbiting satellite. It would have to orbit the planet this way, and as the planet spins on its axis, it would take swaths of data. It would calculate the total amount of mass and pinpoint this is the center of landmass. The next thing is, the height of the Great Pyramid is the average height of all the peaks on the planet Earth. So again, you need a polar orbiting satellite, and you have to scan every single peak and mountain that exists on the planet. Then you got to do some simple mathematics to divide it all and come up with the average height and say, okay, that's the height we want to build it to. This whole thing was left behind as a gigantic time capsule for us to unwind and be like, holy crap, these people were amazing. You know, I mean, they had everything calculated and built into this for the time when you and I come to figure it out. And Thoth in the Emerald Tablet says, builded I the Great Pyramid, patterned after Earth's force, so that it too might remain through the ages. This is Hermes Trismegistus, 3 times born. Hermes and Thoth are the same exact person. You find that they have many names in different time periods. But he says he built the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. He claims that he's the master architect and the bringer of thought and the bringer of alchemy and chemistry, which is why that place was called Kemet. Chemistry and alchemy come out of there. And he went around the world duplicating that. He goes to Mesoamerica, which is now South America, and he builds Teotihuacan in Mexico, right? That pyramid there has the same exact base as the Great Pyramid. Okay, that's the blueprint. Exactly 50% the height as the Great Pyramid. Built on top of an aquifer, all 6 pyramids both aligned with Orion. So you see again, the master architect at his work again. These things aren't coincidences. Most of the megalithic structures are on the 33rd degree parallel of the Earth. Why the 33rd degree parallel? When you look at the Earth's energetic grid and you see the magnetic fields whipping out of the planet, you see these huge swaths of magnetic fields coming out of these areas where all these megalithic sites are located. How did they know this? What kind of technology did they use to detect these magnetic fields, and how did they utilize them in the construction process? All a lot of big time question marks, but it's just amazing. First of all, the box that's inside the King's Chamber is not a sarcophagus. Okay, I can't fit in it. I'm 6'4". My knees would be slightly bent. Yeah. And so I think, I mean, if you're gonna take the energy and the time to hoist that heavy granite up there, at least make it a size that maybe somebody can really fit in there, right? So, but also the way it's set up in there, you can see it's off-centered, which means it might have been added later. It almost seems like an addition to the Great Pyramid, not something that was originally built into the structure. And then you look at the dimensions. So I said, this is interesting. Let me look at the dimensions of this thing. So I look at the dimensions of this probably in 2014 is when I found out the dimensions of that box, of that rose granite box inside the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid are the exact same dimensions of the Ark of the Covenant from the biblical text. And that kind of blew me away. I was like, wait a minute. The Ark of the Covenant would fit directly, smoothly right inside this box. I don't think there's any coincidences. So when you begin to realize, well, what is the Ark of the Covenant? It's a power source. And it's a power source that gives off some type of radiation. And we know this because if you didn't have on lead plates, according to the biblical information, you had to have on lead plates, rubber boots, and all this stuff on before you even touched it. And if you touched it without the rubber, guess what happened? You died instantly. This is in the Bible. So it's telling me electrical charge. And if you were around it too much without the right coverings and protection, your hair would fall out, your eyes would bleed, you would become sick. Sounds like radiation sickness to me. So this thing might have been both electrical and radioactive at the same time. Perfect to put inside the King's Chamber, especially if, why would they add it? Especially if maybe the Great Pyramid's power generation system in some weird way had begun to malfunction because of the lack of water from the Nile running underneath it in the aquifer. So now we have to find a way to boost this thing. So we put the Ark of the Covenant in there because everywhere where they talk about the Ark, it's exuding immense power. It's repelling troops and army troops with these energy beams coming out of it in the Bible. You put that inside of the Great Pyramid, all of a sudden it becomes the energy source. And the reason why I believe that Moses was chased is when he left, and I believe that was actually Pharaoh Akhenaten in my opinion, he took the Ark with him. It was like, oh man, we got to get the Ark back. That's a source of power for Egypt. But without that, we're back in the Stone Ages. Go get the Ark. And they chased him to go get the Ark. That's what I believe it was really all about. The Anunnaki were not just one race of people from one planet. They were people from multiple planets in different star systems. And guess what? We look like them. I never said they were little tiny green men with antennas on their head. We look like them, according to all the ancient accounts, not according to me, because I didn't live back then. You see, I'm only going by the information left behind. Now, Book of Enoch. I have about 4 different versions of the Book of Enoch. This one has commentary in it, which I love some of the writers' commentary. This is like a compendium, kind of like how I did my compendium of the Emerald Tablets. I like this one because it contains the first Book of Enoch, the second Book of Enoch, the third Book of Enoch, and the Book of the Fallen Angels. If you look into the dogma of the Christian belief system, they they praise Enoch for being so holy and so, so good to God that he was taken away and straight to heaven. He didn't have to die. He went straight into heaven and he never came back. That's what they preach to you, right? They tell you that this guy was just, a real good guy, and he did everything that God wanted, and he was without sin, and he was so incredible that, hey, just take him straight to heaven. Just bypass the whole death process. Just go ahead and take him to heaven. And they'll teach you that in Sunday school, right? And so that's the story that you get, but that's not the actual true story. Not the true story. It's quite interesting that Enoch is highly, highly, highly revered in the biblical text. However, his own book, look at all this information in here, was left out of the Bible. Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think Enoch's text was left out of the canonized Bible? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's talking about these people behind me. That's why. It's an ancient Jewish religious text traditionally ascribed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. Now, who is Noah? We know now, because I've been reading the Epic of Gilgamesh, that Noah is actually Ziusudra. Okay? That's his real name, Ziusudra, before it was converted to the name of Noah in more recent texts. His original name is Ziusudra, or even in some, depending on which version of the Epic of Gilgamesh, Akkadian or Babylonian, it could be Unapishtim. Okay? Ziusudra is the most commonly known name, but Enoch is the great-grandfather of the person that was actually given the instructions on how to build a ship to be saved from the flood. Now, this ship that he actually built, we discover in the Sumerian tablets, is not a gigantic boat like what they have been preaching to you in Sunday school. He was given the instructions, and how do I know this? Well, the tablet is actually in the British Museum. He was given the instructions on how to build a gigantic round disc submersible, or maybe it flew. I don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows. And it was cut up into sections like a pie on the inside. And he was told to put his local flora and fauna and his local livestock in that disc. Okay? He never built a gigantic ship. Not once did he build a ship. That is false information. Not once did 2 parakeets and 2 lions and 2 deer and 2 cockroaches and 2 fleas and 2 ticks and all this come on the boat. Didn't happen, okay? I'm just telling you right now, it did not happen. He was literally told to get his local flora and fauna and his local livestock and take on this disc that was cut up into sections like a pie on the inside, but it was a sealed disc, like a saucer, okay? That's what he was in. And we know this for an absolute fact now. There's no way to get around it. There's absolutely no way to get around it. And, they show in the movies, they got, that one movie, that Noah movie, they got, every kind of animal and you got 2 flies and, I mean, come on, guys. 2 piranha. I mean, get out of here. It didn't happen, okay? It just didn't happen. Let's get into the real knowledge, all right? Let's just drop the fairy tales and get to the real knowledge. So Enoch is the great-grandfather. Now, what's important here is we're aligning a man who has directly interacted with these advanced beings. Now we know his own descendant also interacted with these advanced beings, as he was given the actual instructions on how to build this from Ea Enki, one of these Anunnaki people. Enki saved him and his family's life by teaching him how to build this particular disc-shaped floating device, whatever you want to call it, right? This DNA bank, if maybe it was that. But we see a direct connection between Enoch and Ziusudra, who's actually now called Noah in more modern texts, because the Bible is New Age information, not Old Age, it's New Age. So It's interesting that that connection, that lineage is there. Two people, same bloodline, both being directly engaged by these beings, okay? You look at the descent of the Watchers. They descended from the sky. When we hear this in the biblical text or the Enoch text, what are we being told here? We're being told that these people, and I do mean people, came from the sky down. They descended from the sky down to the earth, and they were called the Watchers, okay? They were the Watchers. They would watch over humanity, and in some ways they were forbidden to engage humanity. Some of them were forbidden to actually engage, in other words, to directly interact or interfere. It was against the rules. They actually had something called a prime directive, the same kind of prime directive you see that they utilize that same term in Star Trek. They have a prime directive in which they cannot directly engage or interact with any civilization that's pre-warp. If that civilization is pre-warp and they're going to actually go down to the surface of that planet, then they have to pretend like they're part of that culture. They have to pretend like they fit in, like they're not really aliens or from space. And they can't alter or change or give them any technology in any way, shape, or form. It's forbidden, literally forbidden. Well, they got that information from the ancient tablets. And the Watchers descended to Earth because they were attracted to human women. Now, that's not me saying that. That's in the book of Enoch. That's the ancestors saying this. They were attracted to human women. And this group of angels was led by chiefs such as Zemaziah and Azazel. Zemaziah and Azazel were the two chiefs or leaders of this particular crew of these Watchers. And they decided, you know what? These girls look pretty damn good. We're going to take some human wives. Now, it's interesting that when you read the Enuma Elish, or the Epic of Atrahasis, you discover these beings in there. They call them the Igigi. And these Igigi people are these Anunnaki workers. They're not slaves, but they're the working class. In other words, if I own a construction company, I'm the boss, then I have a master architect, and underneath that I have a foreman, and then underneath the foreman I have workers who go out and actually do the labor to build the product or the house. You see, it's a structure, it's a system. Well, these Igigi, they said the same exact thing in the Epic of Atrahasis. They said, we want to get some of these human women. We don't have no women over here. They were working, according to them, they were working on Mars. And they were complaining about the conditions. And they said, you're working us like we're slaves, or we're not slaves. And not to mention, we want to take some of these women back with us. So in two different texts from two different time periods, we find the same story. We found not the same story, but we found a similarity, I should say, a similarity in which these advanced beings, they want to get at these women. Some of the Sumerian tablets kind of read like soft P-O-R-U-N. I mean, it's really crazy when you start reading some of the stuff that they're talking about, and it makes you want to scratch your head and go, what? And so they began families. So they basically breached heavenly boundaries and all the rules that were set before them to not interact, not engage, and definitely not have sex with human beings. Not that they only have sex, but they said, you know what, we're going to keep these. We're going to make them our wives. And so then they started doing something again that was against the prime directive. They started teaching forbidden knowledge. And the fallen angels impart various types of knowledge and skills that were previously unknown to mankind, which had a profound and often detrimental impact on human societies. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the fact that these beings, not only did they come down for the good loving of the woman, the human woman, but they also then violated another law and began to engage mankind and give us the forbidden knowledge. And why was it forbidden? It was forbidden because this information that they were giving to humans was going to expedite our advancement technologically. And when you advance your technological prowess, all of a sudden, there's room for extreme detriment to that civilization. Why? The reason why it's room for extreme detriment is literally because when you take a civilization that isn't maturing enough spiritually and give them advanced technology, turn them into a technocratic civilization, they can potentially destroy themselves. And that's where we are right now. We're in a situation where we're on a precipice. We're on a line that we can go this way or that way. We're teeter-tottering. We are in a position right now to destroy ourselves. In less than 100 years, we went from a horse, buggy, and carriage to creating intercontinental ballistic missiles, to creating the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 craft that have now gone out into interstellar space. We've sent the Huygens probe, which has landed on the moon Titan. We've done incredible things in less than 100 years. We've got a plane. We have the SR-72 Blackbird. Forget about the SR-71. We have the SR-72. Can fly 4 to 5 times the speed of sound. We've developed laser technology. We can now communicate between Earth and the moon via lasers. We can communicate from satellite back to Earth via laser technology now, significantly bypassing any speed of any high-speed internet that exists on the planet. We've got fiber optics and all these other incredible technologies that have come out. And we've got so much tech, even with the tech that has been suppressed and hidden from us, we've still advanced at a significant pace. But what has it done? I can remember being a kid in elementary school having to hide underneath my work desk. They would make us go underneath the work desk to do practice for if a nuclear bomb went off, as if my work desk was going to protect me from a nuclear blast. It was the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of. I actually laughed when the teacher told us what we were doing. I laughed at her because it was ridiculous. I mean, good grief. Even I knew that a nuclear blast was going to obliterate everything. The work desk wasn't going to do anything for me. But you had to do it or you get in trouble. So you go underneath the desk and you ball up like you're an embryo underneath your desk in case a nuclear blast goes off. You know, that was the Cold War. So I grew up during the Cold War era, 70s and 80s, right? The tech is still there. There are literally tens of thousands of nukes on this planet right now today, tens of thousands of them. And the sad part is, they're not on this planet to protect us from an outside invader. They're on this planet to destroy us while we're still on the planet. We haven't even left the planet. We can't even escape. It's here to destroy us while we're standing on the ground. Can you imagine being an advanced alien race flying by this planet and you use your scanners and oh man, they've learned how to split the atom. Oh, they've got an arsenal down there. Wow, they're really ready to protect themselves. Oh wait, let me hack these and check the trajectory of these intercontinental ballistic missiles that they've created. Oh my goodness, they're set to blow up their own selves while they're on the same planet. Don't stop here. This is a ghetto. It's a ghetto. Come on, man. And so now what do we have that, besides the nukes, now we have other types of weapons, digital weapons, right? We haven't even began to put any type of restraint on the release of the amount of AI and robotics that's going on. I love the AI stuff in robotics. I think it could help mankind significantly. But I think in the way it's being released, not too safe. I just read an article that the US military at DARPA, or the DARPA program for the US military, has literally just developed the very first fighter jet that runs purely on AI and put it into a dogfight. So it's a fly-by-wire fighter jet, which means it's on the grid. We're talking about Skynet now, but Skynet with a consciousness. Isn't that the movie Terminator? Didn't we already watch that movie Terminator? We didn't learn anything from the Hollywood movie. It was a documentary, and now we're living it in real time. We got to be careful. All this tech that we keep getting way before we are consciously ready to even handle it. We're not spiritually ready to handle a lot of this technology. What did Azazel begin to teach the humans? He teaches men to make swords. First thing he does, let me teach you how to cut somebody up. Let me teach you how to chop somebody to pieces. We didn't have metallurgy. We didn't know how to make swords and steel. We didn't know how to work metals. We had no idea until Azazel taught us. He taught us how to smoke metal and all that, and steel and iron, and how to make a sword that won't break and that can slice and dice over and over and over again. Azazel did that. He teaches men how to make swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. We didn't have anything. It didn't exist yet. Azazel taught us that. One of these Anunnaki people, and I do mean people, person, humanoid, a person that puts on their pants one leg at a time. Not no mysterious angel with wings flying around and, I just want to disobey God and come down here and teach them how to make weapons. No, a person, a physical being that can have sex and have babies, which they did, and have wives and everything else. Azazel also teaches women the art of beautification, including the use of makeup and jewelry, which is suggested to have incited further sin. So he got them all dolled up, got them looking all nice. Let me take your beauty to another level with these powders and with these scents and with these colors. Put it on your face and your lips and everything. Make your lips look even more juicy, make you more desirable. Azazel did that. So he hyped up our sex drive, and he also taught us how to kill each other. All right? Crazy, huh? How come they didn't teach you that in Bible study yet? I'm just asking for a friend. How come they didn't teach you this information? Azazel. That's how we learn how to make weapons. They didn't come from the Japanese and the Chinese, and no, it all came from one source. Azazel is the first person to teach us how to work metals and make swords and knives. First person, and breastplates and shields. First person. Then what happened? Simjaza, he instructs on the enchantments of root cuttings, essentially teaching sorcery and herbalism. So he taught sorcery and herbalism. He taught people how to use herbs for either curing or for either trying to utilize those herbs in correlation with sorcery to create a particular outcome. A lot of that stuff is still being used today, and we don't want to admit that's what we're doing, but that's exactly what we're doing. We're trying to create sorcery, burning incense, right? Smudging and all of that. That comes from Simjaza. Amaros teaches resolving of enchantments. So he's teaching how to resolve enchantments. And then you have Barakel teaches astrology. So the first time we were taught anything about astrology and how it applies to human behavior, that came from Barakel. Then Kokabel taught the knowledge of constellations. He gave some real knowledge on constellations, star systems, orbital periods, star alignments. All that came from Kokabel. Okay? Then you have Ezekiel. He teaches about the knowledge of the clouds and meteorology. So now they're getting information on the clouds, stratus clouds, cirrus clouds, predicting weather patterns, understanding barometric pressure. All of that comes from this guy, Ezekiel. And then you have Arakiel. He teaches about the signs of the earth, which might be interpreted as geology, right? Or geomancy. So he's teaching geology, stones. He's teaching you how to understand layers going down, how many years back in time that goes, how to detect an area where there may be flowing rivers underneath the land, where there may be dangerous argon gases that you don't want to dig there or create something under that area. All these things, tectonic plate movements and volcanic activity, and all this information is coming from this guy, okay? Arakiel. Then you have Shamsiel. He teaches about the signs of the sun, like the solar behavior and the solar cycles. So he's teaching about the solar maximum, the solar minimum, CMEs, coronal mass ejections. He's teaching all this information to the people. So they have a full understanding of the solar minimums, solar maximums, and how that affects global warming and global cooling, how some of these CMEs can literally affect our magnetosphere. Then you have Sariel. He instructs on the course of the moon, which encompasses lunar cycles and possibly lunar astrology. Sariel's teaching this, so the whole lunar cycle, all that's being taught by Sariel. And not only that, but because it's the lunar astrology, he's teaching about the effects of the lunar gravitational forces on human minds, human consciousness, and how it affects our own behaviors. Still to this day right now, I don't know if you knew this, but during the full moon, which is totally predictable, do you know that police stations ramp up and have more policemen on staff that night? And the emergency room and hospitals have more staff that night on a full moon? Do you know why? Because on full moons, there's going to be more activity with crime and with injuries, either stemming from crime or other, maybe more car accidents, whatever, on the night of full moon. Full moons directly affect human consciousness. Directly. This is well-known information, and anybody could look that up. And so you have the consequences of all these teachings that these beings did. I don't call them angels because they're not angels in my book. The knowledge imparted by the watchers leads to increased sinfulness and corruption among humanity, according to the Book of Enoch. The text portrays this dissemination of forbidden knowledge as one of the key factors leading to the moral decay and the eventual decision of God to bring about the great flood in the form of a divine retribution. I'm almighty, I'm all knowledgeable, I'm all knowing, I'm Alpha and Omega, I'm the beginning and the end. I think and things come into existence. I breathe and wind blows, and I snap my fingers and I create multiverses and all this good stuff. And I got a couple of bad apples that just don't want to listen to what I have to say. So they break my rules and they go to this planet Earth and they start teaching people how to, do things, and gave them a little bit too much knowledge. And because of this knowledge, they start acting up too. Instead of me going down there and setting everything straight and doing some real teachings, doing some workshops, I think I just, go ahead and wash the whole planet away. Just flood it. Just kill everybody. Just kill as many people as I possibly can and see if I can start over, like a fresh slate, because I'm God, and it'd be just too easy for me to snap my fingers or go down there and teach. So I think what I will do is I'll just destroy and kill everybody. Women, children, everybody. Just kill them all. Come on, man. Stop it. Stop it. Come on. It's ridiculous. That's why I'm laughing. And you know it's ridiculous. So do all the pastors listening to me right now. It's an absolute farce. It's a farce because you're saying in one moment this being is so powerful, it can control everything with a single thought and a snap of a finger, or one spoken word. And on the other hand, the being is so helpless that the best it can do is hurl a rock into the planet and hope that floods the planet and kills everybody. Come on, man. Which one is it? Is the being all powerful, all knowing, all knowledgeable? Or is he, always a man, or is he weak and only has enough power to do a couple things like kill people? Because when you read this Bible, there's one thing that's guaranteed you'll find out when you go through this Bible like I have. God kills over 3 million people in the Bible. The devil kills nobody. He kills nobody. Satan kills nobody. God kills 3 million. Think about that. That's why in the book of Isaiah, God says, let me read the exact verse for you. Isaiah 45:7. That's where you're going. God says, I create the good and I create the evil. Doeth I, saith the Lord. He didn't say Satan made the evil. He didn't say Oh, that doggone Satan, he's creating all the evil in the world. He didn't say that. He didn't say that. He literally said, I create the good and I create the evil. And you know what? He damn right, because he killed 3 million people in that Bible. The best he can do is hurl a rock at the planet and try to kill as many as he possibly can. That's always a he, by the way. It's always amazing that it's always a dude. To me, God is a frequency. It's our job to tune in. So that's what happens. Pretty interesting, right? The punishment to the watchers is, as the result of their actions, the watchers are judged by the archangels and are subjected to severe punishments. They are bound and cast into the abyss, a form of imprisonment and torment, as a penalty for their disobedience and negative impact on humanity. So the humans got to die in the flood, but these people, they don't die. They just get kind of bound into some kind of a chamber where they can't get out. And they're not killed. They're put into some kind of prison. But the people, they got to suffer and drown to death, babies and all. If you really go into the text, you discover something very interesting, that Enoch wasn't taken by God. He was taken by people. And he wasn't just taken once, he was taken more than once. You're taught in Bible study that he was taken to heaven on a chariot, never to return again. He was taken straight to heaven. He bypassed death. Not according to the book of Enoch, where he actually has a conversation with the beings that are going to take him on this trip to teach him knowledge, which is approved by the head god, Anu. And so it's approved. This teaching is approved, and this trip is actually approved, and it's given a set day that they're going to leave on this trip. He even gets his affairs in order and has his sons be prepared for the day that he's going to leave. Okay, he's prepared. In the book of Enoch, the narrative of Enoch being taken into the sky or the heavens is one of the key elements of the text. The ascension is portrayed as an extraordinary event where Enoch is granted divine visions and insights, setting the stage for the detailed revelations that follow in the book. In his ascension to heaven, Enoch's ascension is described across several passages in the book of Enoch. He is taken up into the heavens multiple times, each providing different experiences and revelations. In other words, different things he's being taught, different knowledge that he's been given on different trips. Multiple, not even double, but multiple means more than two. In his initial ascension, Enoch describes how he was taken up into the heavens on the clouds, and the wind in the sky bore him aloft. Well, that sounds quite a bit like flying in some type of a vessel. The ascension is often seen in his initial introduction into the celestial realms, and during this time, he visits various places in the heavens and earth, including the places where the heavenly bodies, stars, sun, and moon, are regulated. Oh, he's in outer space, guys. One of the earliest accounts of a planned alien abduction. Visions of the heavens. As Enoch ascends, he is shown the treasures of the stars and the thunder. Among other secretive and sacred places of the heavens, he witnessed the workings of the natural world from a divine perspective. So he's looking at the earth from atop, and he describes it as a giant ball. Understanding the operation of the cosmos, the weather patterns, and other natural phenomena from above, looking down on the planet. He's seeing the clouds from the other side. This isn't a story about some heavenly father, a sky daddy with a magic wand, whisking away a good human into heaven. It's a story of advanced beings with advanced technology that's capable of space travel, taking a man from the earth into space and teaching him things. This is why the book of Enoch is not in the Bible. Then you have the revelation of secrets. Throughout his heavenly journey, Enoch is also shown secrets that are not known to other humans. He's given forbidden knowledge. These include ultimate judgments of the angels and humans, hidden paths of the stars. He's given star maps, and the storehouses of life and rain, which are meant to explain both cosmic and earthly operations. from a divine standpoint. He's given the information and knowledge how to predict weather patterns on Earth. That is what the book of Enoch is all about.